Welcome to the virtual presentation on the Youth and Program Strengths Training, Part 3. During this presentation, we will review background research related to YAPS, learn how to read and utilize the YAPS reports, and discuss next steps related to the pilot group. Before we go into how to utilize and read the YAPS reports, I'm going to review some of the research related to YAPS to give us a good foundation. The YAPS report builds on more than 2 decades of research, with more than 4 million youth in grades 4 through 12 in the United States. This research, conducted by the Search Institute, has identified key developmental assets that are critical for positive outcomes for young people from many different backgrounds and situations. Thousands of studies had confirmed that young people with higher levels of assets are mentally and physically healthier, safer, more caring, more productive, and more involved and contributing to society than our youth with lower levels of assets. They do better in school, and they are more prepared for college and career options after high school. As can be seen on the graph, there is a clear connection between assets and GPA. Students with more assets reported higher grades. These findings suggest that assets may contribute more to achievement than factors such as gender, family composition, socioeconomic status, or race. On this slide, we can see low-income students were dramatically more likely to do well and avoid school problems if they experience more developmental assets. For example, more than half of the low-income students with 0 to 10 assets reported trouble in school, where none of the low-income students with high assets reported having trouble in school. As a refresher, the YAPS survey examines young people's own sense of their strengths, supports, and skills that are essential for school and life within the context of the youth programs they attend. The YAPS survey is 98 questions. It's conducted online. It's designed for grades 6 through 12 and typically completed within 20 minutes. The YAPS survey measures 2 items: developmental assets, which are the positive factors in young people, family, communities, schools, or other settings that have been found to be important in promoting young people's healthy development. And the second piece is youth voice and program quality. This looks at the degree at which young people in school or community-based out-of-school time programs, like our youth enrichment programs, experience program features and opportunities that define a high-quality out-of-school time program. In the YAPS reports, there are 8 categories of developmental assets. These are made up of both external and internal assets. The first asset is called support, which is defined as young people need to be surrounded by people who love, care for, appreciate, and accept them. The second is empowerment. Young people need to feel valued and valuable. This happens when young people feel safe and respected. The third is boundaries and expectations. Young people need clear rules, consistent consequences for breaking rules, and encouragement to do their best. The fourth is constructive use of time. Young people need opportunities outside of school to learn and develop new skills and interests with other youth and adults. The fifth asset category is commitment to learning. Young people need a sense of the lasting importance of learning and a belief in their own abilities. The sixth is positive values. Young people need to develop strong guiding values or principles to help them make healthy life choices, including responsibility, empathy, and self-control. The seventh is social competencies. Young people need the skills to interact effectively with others, to make difficult decisions, and to cope with new situations. The last asset category is positive identity. Young people need to believe in their own self-worth and to feel like they have control over the things that happen to them. Together, these 8 categories make up the total assets for the Youth Program Strength Survey. Now that we've covered the research behind YAPS and the 8 developmental asset categories, let's look into how to utilize the YAPS reports for your program. The first report we'll cover are those related to the DAP or Developmental Asset Profile. And many of you will recognize this from when we did the pretest reports. The DAP report is the overall developmental assets for your program. And one of the first pages you'll see is what is called the dashboard. And this gives you a one-page summary of your results and where your program participants fall on average. The first graph on the left shows the total developmental assets. So remember, that's all the external and internal assets added together. On the right-hand side, you'll see the bar graph, and that gives you the 8 developmental asset categories and where people score on average in your program. And you can see that they're color-coded by the different asset ranges. So purple would be the adequate category, and green would be thriving. Challenged, as you can see, is red, and vulnerable is orange. Now, the DAP report gives us a really interesting foundation for planning, monitoring progress, and documenting results in the work your programs are having with young people. Too often, communities, schools, and other organizations have research on their youth that is limited to a few indicators, such as grade or health risk. Though these are vital, the data doesn't necessarily shed light on the everyday experiences of the youth. So this DAPS tells you about the everyday developmental assets. And if you can see on this graph, we took a look at the post-test results overall of all the youth that took the YAPS survey, and you can see that our programs, on average, 63% were in the thriving or adequate range in their total assets. And then in contrast, we have 37% of our youth scoring in the vulnerable or challenge range, which means overall our programs are doing pretty well, but there's definitely room for improvement in encouraging our youth and helping them develop developmental assets. Additionally, when we look at the 8 developmental asset categories for our programs, we see on average our youth are doing adequate in almost all the asset categories. So 7 of 8 are adequate, with only on average constructive use of time being an area that is considered vulnerable. As with the previous report, you start off with an overview dashboard about your results, and then the DAPS also gives you detailed information about each asset category. As you can see a sample on the screen, this is an example of the positive identity asset category, and you would see the average score in this category, as well as the range of where your youth falls. So what percentage are thriving and what percentage are in the challenge category. It also gives you some really interesting questions to talk to your stakeholders about, which many of you utilized when we did the action plan. So overall, it's the same as the pre-test results, and you can utilize them in the same way as well. The second report we're going to cover is the program quality report. As you can see, this is an example of the program quality report, which is separate from the developmental asset report, but definitely used in conjunction. Now, this section of the report looks at your youth perspective and the supports they do or don't have in relation to program opportunities. The program quality report also includes a dashboard results, and you can see where your youth have scored your program on a range from 0 to 40 in the different program quality categories. And you can see examples on here that these categories include safety, structure, relationships, belonging, social norms, efficacy and mattering, skill building, and the integration of efforts. Again, you get a good idea of where your program is overall, and you also get the ranges in each of the different categories. Additionally, the program quality report also includes the in-depth information about each of the categories. And on this slide, you can see that this report is talking about the supportive relationship section and the results related to this program here. So, as you've done before, definitely these are the reports that you would read all together to get insight. You can convene your team to discuss the results, and if at all possible, again, share them back with the youth in your program so that you can get their perspectives. As you can see, that it's so important to have youth voice, especially as we work with the older youth. Now that you've had a chance to receive your post-survey results, review the reports, and have a good understanding from this presentation on how to read them, um, the next steps for the pilot group will be discussed. As you can see on this slide, there are a few upcoming milestones. Mainly that is reviewing the information you received on the post-test results. And we also would like your feedback on a survey which is due July 8th. And lastly, if you are interested in discussing your program results on a one-on basis with the research and evaluation analysts, we can schedule a quick phone call so that we can discuss your results so that you can have the mini sessions like we have done before, just in a virtual context. One of the last tasks I have for you as a group is to complete the survey. We really want to have your feedback. It's going to be really important as we go into planning for the next contract year to see how this tool, which was a pilot, overall worked for your programs and if it will work for others. So it's very important that you fill out the survey. It's just 10 questions and you can find it on surveymonkey.com/r/yaps1. Alrighty, I want to thank everybody for joining me on this virtual presentation for our third part training related to YAPS. Again, it's been great having you all pilot this new tool, and we really hope you find it valuable. But thank you again, and if you have any questions, feel free to send me an email at anna@thechildrenstrust.org. Thank you.